Sex trafficking is modern-day slavery. It happens in every state, especially here in our community. It can happen to anyone, no matter their age. Sex trafficking is often a hidden crime. House of Promise rescues trafficked victims and empowers them to become healed and restored. Our community, not for sale.
Good evening, I'm Kira Lake, and welcome to Our Community, Not for Sale. We're bringing awareness to sex trafficking right here in mid-Michigan, and sex trafficking is a form of modern-day slavery. It is estimated that between 20 to 50,000 people are trafficked each year in the United States, where the majority of these victims are sex trafficked. And tonight, we are here to raise awareness and money for the House of Promise because it's an organization that rescues trafficked victims and empowers them to become healed, restored, and successful. You will hear stories from survivors who have been helped by this organization, but we must warn you, these stories are disturbing and graphic and may not be suitable for a younger audience. And to preserve the safety of our survivors, we are hiding their identity. We are calling our first survivor by Bridget, and her story starts when she was just a child.
My story started when I was 3 is my earliest memory. I grew up from the outside would look like the perfect family. My father was a radiologist, my mom was a teacher. I have 2 brothers, one a little older, one a few years younger. And we were the kind of family that whatever happens at home stays at home. You don't talk about the things that are going on. So it wouldn't be until my mid-30s when I'd start remembering some of the evil things that my father did to me. He sexually abused me, raped me, I think is a good term to use. And he was using me in child pornography. I was in a line of other girls my age, and we were made to go up on a stage where they would take pictures of us naked. And I remember all of the men in there were a bunch of men that were laughing and pointing. And he would do that even in our home when I was little. He would take me up into the attic and make me get undressed and take pictures of me. And he introduced me into a satanic cult. When I was 3 and 4, I have memories of being initiated into this cult. And what they would do is they would take the kids, it was girls, they would take us and they would, I called it kiddie waterboarding, where they would hold us down and they would pour water into our mouths. It was a threat to make sure that we didn't talk. And then they would take us and they would tie us down on these tables. It was like a circle around a bonfire, a big fire. And the men would come out. And so we would be tied down and we would all be abused, raped by these different men. One of the things they would do is they would have someone who was dressed up as a police officer come, and they would dig holes back behind the tables where we were held down, and they would make us go into the holes. So if the police really came, we were threatened with being buried alive. They would actually put us into the holes and they would start to shovel dirt because they didn't want us to tell. It was all, a lot of threats. I didn't remember all of this at the time until my 30s. So somehow when I was young, my brain found a way to block the more traumatic memories of what was going on. I was actually very high functioning and I was diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder. I have 7 alters, which are alternate personalities, and they're very distinct personalities, and they all have names and ages. And the one that communicates with me the most is about age 3, and she's the one that really held the torture memories and the satanic cult memories, and they've all experienced, the drowning and being held underwater, and he would do those things to me in a bathtub, and so I didn't know that I believed them. I thought I was going crazy. I just thought I was going nuts, because who has those kind of thoughts about their father? So I wasn't sure that my memories were real. So when I was in the hospital after my suicide attempt, I actually texted him on a phone and I said, "Did you or did you not sexually abuse me?" And he sent back a text with just one word. He said, "Yes." So I was successful in my early years, but then I just fell, and I fell far to end up in a homeless shelter. Coming to the House of Promise, they've provided a safe environment. Once I got used to being here and I sort of delved into Christianity a little bit more and religion, they've opened up this whole new aspect of my life that was missing for decades. You know, again, I'm 51 and I turned away from God because I was so angry at him. And I thought, you know, there's a reason that I ended up here. They have a unique way of giving us hope. Again, like I haven't had hope for a really long time.
And we're just, again, it's such a joy. She has been with us, I think, about 6 months now. Her story, again, is you know, horrific. Started very young, and I hope you connected the dots that she was a successful adult. She was a pediatrician, and all of a sudden her whole world crumbled because her memories started coming back. And most people don't realize that that's what trafficking is. That is what severely sexually abused is. And if you can even imagine, you know, your own father giving you Kool-Aid laced with LSD and bringing several men in to rape you, your brain doesn't know what to do with that. So it's been a long journey. I think she said she's 50 years old. That's what we're seeing that our community needs so much from us, is we have to do cleanup first. And that's all of these young ladies that have had the people that should have been protecting them in their most vulnerable years betrayed them. This is what your money goes to. This is what your donations go to.
Hi, I'm Susie Merchant, MSU Women's Basketball Coach. I've been associated with the House of Promise for 5 years. I've come to learn the amazing work that they have done in fighting sex trafficking. While working and mentoring young women, I've come to realize the need that the House of Promise fills here in mid-Michigan. I'd encourage you to support any way you can to help fight sex trafficking here in our community, because we are not for sale.
The House of Promise is built on faith and carries hope for each rescued woman, and they serve with unconditional love for each one that walks through their door. They're offering education, guidance, and support until each woman is fully healed, fully restored, full of peace, and uncovers their God-given purpose. These ladies have such strength and courage to fight to get their life back, and now could you consider becoming a partner with the House of Promise? You can just hold the camera on your screen up to the QR code that you see at the corner of your screen, or you can visit houseofpromise.com, and you can help fight this horrible crime here in our community. Our next survivor, we're calling Anne, and her story starts when she was simply opening her door.
My story begins with a very happy childhood. I was the second of 4 kids, and I had a great upbringing. And I went to college where I made the dean's list, and I got my Bachelor of Science degree in social work. And in 2014, 2 men came to my door and let me know that I owed back taxes to the city where I lived. And I indeed did owe back taxes because I worked in a different city than what I lived or something like that. So they said that we needed to discuss how I can pay it back. And so, not knowing any different, I let them in my house. And at that time, we just talked, but they came back. And the next time that they came back, they didn't want to talk anymore. And they abused me that first time right there in my apartment, and that's when it started from there. And at that time, I was working, and I worked for probably one more week until I couldn't anymore. And so I moved from that place. I moved probably about 30 miles away and started a new life. And these same people came and did the same thing. This time they used a different vehicle, so I didn't know. But and then for the next 4 years, every place I moved, which was about 5 more residences and across state lines, they followed me. And it wasn't until I came to Michigan that I found out how they found me all those times. And it was because the Michigan State Police found a tracker that they had put on my car that I don't even know when they put it on my car, but that's how they were able to find me for 4 years at different locations. When I came to the house, I don't remember much, but I was at the point in my life where I was having many triggers, like if the doorbell would ring. And that would just put me in a place where I thought the men were coming to Michigan. And I could not stand to be touched at all. Even a hug, that just, the closeness of people, that was very frightening to me. And I could not see past a day, you know. I'm alive now.
You just heard from Ann. And when we got Ann, she was so different than what we ever expected. We learned from every single one of our girls. But her story, you know, she skimmed over a lot. This young lady, every place she moved, this gang kidnapped her, tortured her in ways that you don't even want to know. She, when she came to us, you know, if you came up behind her and put your hands on her, what we would call is she'd go away. She would go into like a pseudo seizure, so her brain would shut down because the fear was so great. A loud noise, and if a phone went off, it was crazy. Sometimes we would lose her and she would be, you know, hiding in a closet, just mumbling things because she was going back into flashbacks of this terror she lived through. You know, when she left, she wasn't doing that anymore. She's working. You know, she's got an apartment with 2 little dogs, and she's finally, she has her life back, and she had no hope. She had no hope. She thought this was going to be her life because she couldn't get rid of the fear. She couldn't get rid of those memories. And, you know, does she still have some struggles? Yes. But again, that's where we come in. That's where we're still helping her with her therapy meetings and doing things like that, because we want to make sure she stays at this place. This is record time for her to be, you know, working and having an apartment and all that, and we want to keep it the same. So again, this is where your money goes. This is where your donations, where we're asking for donations right now. This is what it goes. It's restoring the lives of women.
We're so excited to share why we've connected with the vision of House of Promise. I would say bridge over troubled waters. That's what the House of Promise is. It's a bridge over troubled waters. For girls that need a way of escape, they need a place a refuge.
And I just can't imagine what some of these girls go through, but outside of just a financial giving on our end, we've connected here because they've got a beautiful building here. And being in construction, we take on a lot of the maintenance projects that come here. And when we do that, that basically takes finances that are given here, so they don't have to worry about a lot of the maintenance areas of the building. So we help repair and keep up this beautiful building to give these girls a beautiful place to stay.
Yeah, and that lifts the burden of finances off of Sherry as the director and the whole board. to know that they can now funnel a lot more money into the exact needs of the girls and bring in more girls, because this is a real need. This is a real need in our city, our state, and our nation.
Today, will you partner with the House of Promise with a simple donation of any dollar amount? And it will make a huge difference. But tonight they are offering you 2 unique gifts. If you donate $100, you will receive a Promise Kept is a Life Saved t-shirt. And if your donation is $500 or more, you will receive this beautiful custom-made sterling silver lotus pendant by Wheat Jeweler. This flower is a symbol for success, beauty, and spiritual awakening, and that's because the flower's life starts in muddy and murky water, but it eventually rises to become beautiful and float on the water's surface. This flower is a perfect symbol for the journey many make in life, and a reminder that all can rise to the darkness to find our way to beauty and light. Our next survivor we're calling Suzanne, and Suzanne was just renting an apartment when her landlord sold her into sex trafficking.
My story starts, I wasn't raised with my biological family. I was in and out of group home and foster homes, and was repeatedly molested or raped by male figures. So I had got fed up with that type of environment, and I ran away and was living on the streets, and there I adapted to gang violence and stuff, and opened myself up to more abuse. Well, right before I was about to turn 20, me and these girls were renting rooms from a guy, and we didn't know that later on that it was actually a setup to where these guys broke in the house, and we thought it was a break-in, but it wasn't, because they took us to a location. What happened was the owner of the property had sold all 4 of us. We became slaves for like 3 weeks, sex slaves, that is, and we were told to do things that, they were very degrading and very painful, and if we didn't, we would get beat. The guy that sold us to the people, they end up killing him, and then after all the torture they had sent us through and repeatedly beating us, they decided to let us go, like after 3 weeks, maybe almost 4 weeks, and we didn't know where we was, and we were stranded, and we were walking. Well, it was 4 of us, but one of us passed away from all the head trauma, that the abuse that we had encountered during that time. And we never saw the guys, so still to the day, these guys are out there. This particular time in my life, I was like fed up, and I wanted something totally different. I didn't want to just go to treatment and get out and deal with just the substance abuse, and I had not dealt with all the other abuse areas of my life. And so I heard about a program called the House of Promise, and it's a 2-year program, and when I got there, I had nothing. I had no finance. I had no people. I was bankrupt mentally, physically, and emotionally. And they supplied me with everything. They got me hooked up, connected with mental health, and I was dealing with my substance abuse issues, and I was able to connect with my real family, and through them, I also was able to have a relationship with God, which they introduced me to. But if it had not been for this program, I would be out there lost with nowhere to go. I just want to say that this program saved my life, and the fact that they made sure that I was safe upon my release meant a lot to me.
You just saw Suzanne, and she was such a joy to have in our home. She was with us for about 18 months. She had so much tragedy in her life, and she worked through all of it. A lot of anger, and it's awesome now. She has her own apartment. She volunteers at her church. She's whole. We keep in touch with her. We keep an eye on her, and we will for the rest of her life probably. Just we're a family, and we keep track of our family.
Today, if you saw someone chained to a post, you would do something immediately. But sex trafficking victims are sometimes invisible to the public and could be walking by you every day without being noticed. But this can change, and you can learn the signs by going to humantraffickinghotline.org. Now on to our next survivor. We're calling Diane. And Diane just got stuck in a bad situation.
When it first all started, I was 30 years old. And that's when I wound up getting stuck in a bad situation where I was forced to do things I didn't want to do. And I wind up being stuck. You know, I went to these people's house, and then all of a sudden I realized I couldn't leave. And they forced me, well, they wound up raping me and not letting me go and threatening my life. And from there, it just went to, I was stuck in a room, and I didn't know who was going to be coming through the door in the room. And I was constantly being raped and forced to do things. And they would just drug me up with like drugs for me to like just be okay, but I wasn't okay. And I was too afraid because they had guns, and having guns to your head while being raped is not something that, you know, you ever want to happen. You know, there's a lot of bad people out there that pry on like vulnerable women. And I ran away. I left everything I owned and I snuck away. And it was the scariest moment, like trying to leave somewhere and thinking that somebody's following you behind you. And I left, and I just left, and I didn't know really what I was gonna do, but I just know I got away from them. I had to change my hair color, had to change how I dressed. I literally had to go into like hiding away from them. I went and find the House of Promise, which is kind of crazy, is I wind up coming here from California. And I came here with my dog and my lizard, and I went into a rehab, and the rehab wound up talking to me about this place that does more of like the emotional healing of different traumas that I've gone through, that it just went inner sinking. It was safe. Like, it was safe, and it was where I can focus on healing, and where I got to start a whole new life. You know, I got baptized January 5th of last year. I got to go to counseling and therapy. We go through like becoming transparent and being able to, and you wind up becoming vulnerable. And that's where I actually wind up speaking about the different things that have happened to me. And like realizing, because I used to hide behind of like, you know, out of sight, out of mind, just keep them buried inside. And it was a safe environment where I was able to bring it up into the light and heal and feel from those, and then push it, then let it go. Not just like push it down, but like actually like ask God to, you know, remove it. I just want to say that like without me giving myself a chance of going to House of Promise, I don't know where I'd be right now. Because today, because I spent 10 months here, and after that time now that I've not been here, coming here and healing from some of my traumas, I was able to now, I have a job, I have a fiance, I still have my animals, I'm able to take care of myself, have my head up high, know that I'm worthy, and the things that happened to me in the past can stay in the past, and I thank them for letting me heal from the traumas I've been through.
So now you've gotten to see some of the stories of what the House of Promise does. And I hope it gives you a better picture of what human trafficking, sex trafficking is about, and what the House of Promise does. You know, when I first got into this, I pictured things to be so different. You know, I pictured all these, you know, teenage or you know, young adults, you know, skinny little girls, you know, that are going out there and they're being trafficked. But you know what? They come in all shapes, sizes, age, color. You know, and the biggest shock for me was the age part. We do take older women, and I never would have thought that. But I really believe that with the House of Promise, you know, my mission is to help severely sexually abused and sex trafficked women. And so I don't care what age they are or what they look like or whatever. I'm there to help them rebuild their lives. We don't depend on any federal or state grants. We depend completely on the community to keep our doors open. And that is mainly because we don't want to do the things that, you know, some organizations tell you you have to do, because honestly, they don't work. Honestly, most of those don't work. So we're doing something different. We're doing something new, and it's working. We are restoring lives. We are giving hope to the hopeless. And I don't want to stop. I want to grow. You know, I want to take in more girls. I want, you know, we're planning, you know, I'm planning more phases of this organization that will take in all different people. Maybe, you know, I'm actually thinking about maybe the next one will be where the children can actually come with their parents. Right now we're not set up for that. So we have big plans. We're not going anywhere. I hope you fell in love with my girls as much as I have. They were so very brave to share their stories. But they love us too, and they wanted to help us. And you know what? There is a really good therapy in sharing your story if you're ready for it. I want you to know this isn't just in another state. This isn't overseas. This is right here in your community. I've had several girls come to this house and they were sent from someplace else to Lansing, Michigan to be trafficked. It's here. It's very much here. So we take care of Mid-Michigan, we take care of our community, plus when we get calls from across the country, we're on it. Whenever there's a girl in need and wants to work on herself and wants to get better, I don't ever want to I don't ever want to say no. I want to always have a bed for those girls. Will you help me? Will you partner with me?
Sex trafficking is modern-day slavery. It happens in every state, especially right here in our community, and it can happen to anyone. Victims can be any age, race, or gender, and sex trafficking victims are forced against their will to engage in sex acts for money. Thousands are reported, but many more are never reported. Victims might be afraid to come forward, so please help by donating to the House of Promise. Bring this crime out of the shadows. You have the power to save a life today. Thanks for watching Our Community, Not for Sale.